So my story on League started a long time ago. I used to play on North America server before even Season 1 started, and I remember playing with Hotshot, Big Fat, GG, Chowster and all these people just in the normal game solo queue as it was back then. Eventually I switched over to Europe server. We didn't play for money, we didn't play for fame, we just loved the competition, and that was it. So Season 4 in SK was a really great experience for me. We had a team that everyone was trying to improve and everyone got along well, and I never really had that before, and that's what I always longed for. I wanted a stable team that could work together. At the start, I think the meta was really good for me because it was so hard to win or lose top lane back then that it gave me the confidence to play against the star players. Being at the World Championship was definitely a different kind of feeling altogether. I remember the introduction ceremony, you just walk on the stage and you're like, wow, I actually made it. All that work I put in, it finally paid off. For my whole career previously to that, I was never a spotlight player. I never had a great Twitter following. I was never popular. So at Worlds, when I got finally recognized by the community, it was really an amazing feeling. I got target banned every game. I got respected by the other teams. I think Dyrus said I was the best top laner of the group or something, and it's a feeling you want to recreate, but it's also a feeling that you know is not going to last very long, and that's kind of the tragedy of it. So after Worlds, coming back to Europe, I thought it was easy. Like some of the top laners there were just not at the level of the players that I've been scrimming, so kind of felt like I was walking all over them at the start of Season 5. I think it was after IAM that the team mood started to get really, really bad. Basically, people got demotivated and we didn't want to adapt and we just didn't want to improve anymore. And eventually it caught up with us and we just started losing and losing and losing. What I did was just I stopped caring because that was a way of defending myself from the reality of it. The feeling of being in relegation again with SK is I didn't want to be there at the time. I just wanted to be anywhere else in my life. Like, I didn't want to play the game. I didn't want to practice. Everyone was kind of done playing with each other. I think even me and Svenskeren, who had been best friends for the longest time, we didn't want to play with each other anymore. We didn't want to work together. And it was the worst feeling I think I've experienced in esports.
Gamers 2, they demolish SK Gaming. Welcome to the League of Legends Championship Series.
It's kind of a sad story because the way the team fell apart in Season 5 to like doing well, you know. No one will remember us. After relegation, I took a break. We lost, and honestly, I don't know how much it really affected me because by that point I was kind of done. I think what sparked me back was when I saw Worlds, when I saw the opening ceremony and I saw the players walk out and the introductions they did. I remembered, and it made me angry because I know that in a different timeline we could have been at that World Championship really easily with that lineup. So I think at that point I started playing again and I realized that I should continue this and it can't end like this. I think you could say I've grown a lot as a person because in life you have to deal with these kind of things. So it's given me a lot of life experience, I think. I hope that when I finish playing and my story ends that people will talk about me in a positive way and they'll remember the good things. This year I definitely going to see a more hard-working Freddy. I've already started doing that. I'm waking up earlier and playing more. And I hope that I can impress and return to what I was. And that's my goal for this season.
Still plenty more chapters to write in that Freddy story, Deficio. Now, welcome back to the European LCS. By the way, if you want to catch the extended version of that feature, check it out on the LOL Esports YouTube. But for now, Roccat and Elements gearing up to face off against one another. Let's check out the starting lineup on the blue side after a split week 1. It is Team Roccat. That means it is Freddy 1-2-2 in the top lane. Airwax prowling the jungle. Betsy the mid laner. Saphir the AD carry. Support Edward and their coach. I've heard he's fresh.
I'm so fresh, yeah. He's the coach for this team. Honestly, had a good start last week, I would say, as a coach. We saw some good things for Roccat. Of course, on the red side, we just got to go over them. We have Elements as well here with Steve in the top lane. Crowd is already ready. Gilius is in the jungle. Icat, a mid laner. Mr. Rales, the AD carry. Sprattle, the support. And Nif is, of course, the coach for Elements.
Yes, indeed. Now, there were very low expectations coming into the split for both these teams, friendly, but they both managed to pull off a win in the beginning of the split.
Yeah, Roccat definitely the one surprising us, beating the Vitality lineup, which we had predicted as a top 4. They might still get there, obviously. They need a bit of time. And honestly, I like that Roccat just came in, and I don't feel like they did anything fancy. They just played some of these comfort picks we've seen before. Freddy was on a tank up in the top lane. We got even Tarek coming in from Edward. We know he loves that play.
It's an Eddie special.
It is an Eddie special. And honestly, they were very good at reacting to when the other team were making a mistake, and then understanding how can we punish this super effectively. And that's what they did so smart.
Yeah, it really was very reactive team play, even from both these teams. Elements weren't doing anything particularly fancy for their side, but I think that we could be in for a long, drawn-out slugfest.
We're in Europe, No, we won't. It's going to be 29
last game,
minutes.
Man, I don't know. Well, we'll see.
That was like 35. That's fight.
That was a long game, man.
Okay, fair enough.
Long game, fights all the time.
Let's highlight again here.
Yeah.
Average game time last week in the EU LCS was 29 minutes and 58 seconds. That is now the definition of a normal game in Europe. So 35 minutes for some reason is now a long, drawn-out game, even though we might get like 50 kills.
Technically correct.
You are sure.
Where to pick the band?
I'll give you that.
Let's start it off. We've got Fiora taken off the board, so Steve will have to find himself another top carry if indeed he goes that way. Temkench also banned away.
Good ban against Freddy, for sure. Flex pick, Eddie can take it as well. I like the Fiora ban. We didn't get to talk about them before coming into this year, but Steve has been the carry for Elements in the 2 games we saw. I would say him and Gilius has really been the 2 standout players, at least in the win against Splice. And Fiora was one of the picks they used. The way the bans are looking now though, Kindred, normal ban coming in as well. Lee Sin is there for Gilius. We know he loves to play it, so I don't think it touches him too much that Kindred is banned away. And also, we've seen Elements go for Corki both games. First priority, honestly, like picked very, very early.
Right.
And Alistar as well for Sprattle, if he gets it, that could be a first rotation for Elements, and they would be happy about that.
Indeed, the Elise is banned away, so
right, Roccat must be first picking Lee Sin here.
I think that's going to happen. Take it away from Gilius. We'll see what the last ban for Elements is, though.
Yeah, otherwise it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense banning away 2 of the junglers when Gilius is a Lee Sin main. Obviously, that means for Elements, they can say, I mean, this is a risky one, but if you leave Gangplank open now, you basically force Roccat to pick it, and then you get a good jungle matchup. But then again, I mean, it's too risky to do it. It's just like when you see these target bans coming in, I guess they have left the Rise open. I don't... Again,
ignored last game.
I talked about this last game. I think Rise is a little bit of a trap, because not all the teams in Europe understand properly how to play around him in the early game. And then he tends to get under a lot of pressure, and he then falls behind in lane, and then he doesn't offer really anything because his damage is too low at that point in the game, and his wave clear is too mana heavy, and we'll see. I think Roccat is one of the teams who did well on Rise. Betsy got to play it in the mid lane, so I understand the first pick. It does mean the 2 jungle bans coming in. I mean, the only thing they're basically doing is pushing Elements towards like, hey, pick that Lee Sin. You want it in first rotation because you can then get a great jungle matchup still for Gilius, who was a big carry. They don't seem to be doing it. So Roccat can still pick it up.
Taking their time as they contemplate their bottom lane. So with the Rise picked up, that will be what they lock in. Kalista, Alistar.
I would have preferred Corki for Mr. Rales. I think Corki is a great pick against Rise because Poke is so strong against him. Also, Corki, once he hits level 6, is so good in the laning phase. Obviously, Kalista as well is a very strong laner. But she does rely quite a lot on having a ranged support next to her. And now with Alistar, it becomes basically a farm lane where you want to hit level 6 and then you can set up a dive with your jungler. Would honestly prefer the Corki for Rales, but you can't complain. Kalista is still a great top tier AD carry.
Might see it on the side of Roccat. Saw Saphir just a moment ago. Fresh, talking to this team, trying to make sure the nerves are settled to start this game off against Elements. We really expected this to be such a bottom table matchup, but you know, anything can happen with the 1-1 teams as they are right now, and it looks like Roccat will lock in both the Rek'Sai and the Trundle.
Yeah, these
Ready.
teams have definitely not looked like the weakest teams in Europe. Splice and Giants have honestly looked worse than these two. So it's definitely not a bottom of the table matchup at the moment. And obviously, this game is super important for both teams because you are playing to avoid dropping down to that bottom of the table. So beating the teams around you that you're expecting to be around you is so key. Also, the head-to-head matchups and so on. It's a very important game for both teams.
Uh-oh.
Just give me Lee Sin for Gilead.
Uh-oh.
I don't want to see this in Italy.
Quick lock-in of the Lux, and we've got ourselves a kitty cat in the jungle for Gilius.
Why not Corki then with this? Unless, I guess they just want the physical damage because they're running an AP jungler with the Kalista, but like you could have had a sick poke comp. Anyway, they want the physical damage, they took Kalista, it's fine. Lux has been one of the sleeper picks.
Yeah,
We've seen it.
we've been expecting it.
Yeah, we have. We've seen it quite a bit in solo queue. Poke has become very strong in the current meta. Her laning phase is
Parts of
very
the world.
safe against a lot of things. She does well into Ryze. So if they're expecting Freddy to take a tank top lane and then Ryze mid for Betsy, Lux becomes a very good pick. They might try and force this Ryze up onto the top side because then they can also counter pick it with Steve.
Yeah.
So I feel like Elements are trying to force the hand of Roccat a little bit and where they send the blue man.
Let's see what they decide to finish their comp off. We still need an AD carry. They still need, prospectively, top or a mid. The final seconds ticking away, though. They swap it up at the last moment, and it looks like we will have an Ezreal and a Zac. Most likely up there for Freddy.
Yeah, it's gonna be Zac top for Freddy. He played it last week. Honestly, a good pick at the moment. Does have a few problems. He's not the greatest split pusher. Laning phase is fine for him. Not super special or anything, but he's a hard engaged top lane, and we're kind of lacking those in the current meta. So he is very good at forcing fights and therefore enable the Ryze. But again, Elements have the chance to pick a tank into him if they want to, just want a safe tank up top lane, because Fiora is banned away. That's probably going to be Steve's normal carry pick. And honestly, they're just going to play around Aika and Gilius, being able to land so much poke. And I hate to say it, but I feel like Roccat really has dropped the ball a bit in this pick and ban phase. They drafted very low wave clear outside of Ryze with his ulti. Ezreal needs the Iceborne Gauntlet, and then it's not great wave clear coming in for him. Also, they're drafting double tier into a siege composition, or at least into a Lux. So like the mid game is not the strongest for you. But they're basically going to rely on Freddy being able to engage with the Zac when the grouping happens for Elements, and then by him landing the first knock-up, the second knock-up, they put Ezreal and Ryze in a position where they can just machine gun down whatever it is they're hitting on the side of Elements. But that needs to work for them, otherwise they're gonna get poked out. Lux with the insanely long range, land the one binding into a spear from Gilius, and you're back in base. And then your tower goes down.
There's a lot of burst potential. Some lockup as well from the side of Elements. Roccat will have to watch themselves. But to get this double tier composition rolling, you know, we saw them playing very reactive, try and push people off of them. They have a shot at making it happen, especially since Elements seemed to play the same game last week.
Sure, but it's just been such a problem drafting these double tier comps and fairly low wave clear, because again, in this meta, you really want two pushing lanes. In order to have map control and be proactive, you need two pushing lanes. Ryze is not going to be able to push in the Lux really that effectively. Ezreal against Kalista, same deal. You're going to have to accept that Kalista can hit the wave first, and you're going to be more on just last hitting with your Mystic shots. So it's going to mean that Roccat will have to be pretty passive in the early game, and then react to what Elements is doing.
Well, you've heard from us. Why don't you guys let us know what you think at home? Tweet at LOL Esports, ROC win if you think Roccat will run away with another, or hashtag EL win if you think the Elements team will come up with a W on top. We're on to the Rift for game number 2. Roccat, Elements, who comes out?
We didn't see a single Lux pick all of 2015 in the LCS. Last time it was played in 2014, CLG versus C9 over in the North American LCS. So it's been a sleeper pick. It's been sleeping for a while. But it's one of these picks that have been getting a few buffs. Small buffs always coming in. The passive got a good change. The factor E now goes on cooldown when you fire it and not when you activate it, and so on and so on. Like, she's just been getting small good buffs all the time, and then in a meta where poke is fairly effective, she can then start shining. And honestly, I think Elements were just saying, if you want to play Ryze, we're going to pick this into it. If you want to move Ryze top, you might break up what you normally want to build because Freddy's not on a tank. And that could really disrupt quite a lot for Roccat. And we see it paid off for Elements.
Right, and this is the thing that you can critique about this Roccat squad, known to play to their comfort pickups, at least in week number 1, is that you can predict these flex picks and take away some of the question marks that they have there. Rallis and Sproudle are looking to start off the lane swap, while Steve goes on a double jungling mission with Gilius. But Saphir and Edward are also already up topside, so we will possibly have Australia lanes.
Elements might invade in to stop the Grom from happening, so they're basically predicting the
spotted by
swap
Ward,
here. We'll see the blue buff. Roccat sees them enter, and therefore no camps are taking at level 1. We get 2v2 lanes. Steve gets his one-on-one lane against the Zac as well. Killing a Zac, though, is pretty difficult in lane.
Definitely. Dealing with Steve, though, he will have quite a lot of poke coming his way. Speaking of poke, Spear starting things off. Rallis and Sproudle dodging it out, though, for the most part. So looking at how this game seems fairly standard, since we just swapped the lanes and away they go. Who does make the first move here? That's always the question. I don't think it's going to be the double tier comp.
Notice how Eddie saved his relic stack for the next melee minion wave. So he wanted to make sure he could surprise Elements a little bit and then get the push in on the second one to get level 2. And obviously Elements, they know it's happening, so they're just backing away. They have to surrender that early rush to level 2. Let's instead look at some keystones.
League of Thunderlords no more.
Definitely not in this game. We still see it a lot. But supports often gets the Bond of Stone. Obviously, AD carries get the Fervor of Battle. Let's see what happens.
Some action starting. Aika runs into trouble, and there is the risk that you run with an immobile mid laner. First kill picked up for Airwax.
We've seen this before from Roccat. They are very, very good at playing around Betsy when he gets the Ryze. Roccat is one of the few teams in the EU LCS who's really shown how to play Ryze. Airwax will path around it, he will protect Ryze around the mid lane, he will ward for him, and early ganks. That was a flash snare into the knock-up from Airwax, and then Aika dies. We've seen this before as well from Aika, where he gets ganked early on, or he has a poor TP, and then he falls behind.
Yeah.
In the lane. And that is very, very bad, because Elements need these locks to get going if they want to start setting up this siege with her and the Nidalee, because this is what the comp is built for. That's why they go Nidalee and not like a Lee Sin or something for Gilius.
Definitely a solid start for Roccat, though. Getting some help for Betsy, as he's been a player that was so focused on getting a lot of damage for his team early on. Last week, he had 29% of the damage share. He was really rocking and rolling, not just on that Ryze, but it worked out for him when it really didn't for a lot of other people. And you can see Gilius looking to try to provide some pressure here to counteract that for Aika, who's playing a little further back. Hasn't affected the CS at least.
No, but it's a very risky gank for Gilius. First of all, you need to land a max range snare from Aika. You also should still expect Airwax to be around, because he can't gank the top lane. The top lane is pushed into Element, so there's no ganking opportunity there. Freddy's not even in the bot lane, so they're not expecting Airwax to be there either. They should know he's around mid lane. That's also why Gilius is backing away, saying, I'm not going to risk it. And Betsy at first, he wants the wave to start pushing towards him, because he's against a no-flash mid laner with no escapes at all. So he wants the wave now to start pushing towards his side. Airwax can then return to mid lane. You can see the wave pushing in towards Betsy. Then he goes in to grab the blue buff as well. And then you can set up another gank, or the threat of a gank. That is enough to make Aika hesitate when he walks in to take the farm. Betsy, sadly, it's not here in time. The wave gets reset on tower, but he can look to do the same thing again. And just make it tough for Aika.
Yeah. You can already see Airwax, though, going a little forward into the jungle of Elements, set up a tunnel network for himself. Not spotted by Gilius. Meanwhile, back to top lane. It continues to be a farm fest. So far, Rallis is winning it just barely.
And I like this little move from Airwax. He started on the red buff. He took the red buff, he ganked the mid lane. Then he went into the enemy jungle, took away a raptor camp. So he delayed his own blue buff, waiting for Betsy to get a few levels under his belt in the mid lane. And then saying, now you can use it. Because a level 1 Ryze with blue buff doesn't really do a whole lot. Give him a few levels, then you give him the first blue buff. It gives Betsy just more lane control. It makes everything easier for him. He can now push the wave back if he wants to, avoid getting pushed into his tower. And just a smart little move from Airwax. a jungler I'm really looking at, because I think last week he was doing really well. I think this meta suits him quite a lot. He can be very aggressive on these early game junglers, and that was just a smart move. Something I've seen happening in OPL as well. I wonder if it's the place Roccat saw it, or if they've just been figuring out themselves this is a way you can play around and help the Ryze. Because it's all about buff up that Ryze here, make sure he has a good laning phase.
Yeah, we've seen what happens when he doesn't, that's for sure. But Betsy has not been the one to experience it. Airwax is spotted as he clears the ward away, as well as the camp. Aika's low on mana here, and he knows the jungler's around. He's got to be careful.
But again, look at the position in the lane. The minions are always pushed towards Betsy. So Aika, he cannot overextend for it. He has to just farm with his E, basically. And Betsy's just standing there zoning him off and saying, you saw my jungler, he could be nearby, or he could be top lane.
And there he goes, gets headbutted away by Spruttle, knocked up by the Pulverize. And gank unsuccessful. In fact, Airwax takes more of the damage than he bargained for. They did see him coming on the ward, but still. Good attempt by the Roccat jungler. Goes back to Liquid Wins.
And as soon as Airwax shows himself top, Betsy says, okay, fine, I can now push in the mid lane and I can reset the wave again. Because now obviously you know my jungler is not here. I don't need to keep this pressure going. He pushes it into tower. Entire minion wave dies, he pushes back out, and he can now look to try and set up the same thing again. Aika will have flashed soon though. But a snare from Ryze into a knock-up. Look at this wave here pushing away. Aika saying, you know what? Peace out.
Don't worry about a thing, and Betsy will immediately clear it away. As he sees Aika backing, does the same. So really no pressure on this Ryze as he looks to secure his tier. Gilius up in the top side jungle is going to discover some tunnels. Not going to clear him out just yet as he's got something else in mind.
He doesn't care about clearing these tunnels. Come on, Gilius. I guess he doesn't want to show his positioning.
Tunnel vision.
Standing on it.
Or lack thereof.
Lack of.
There we go.
Yay!
He just wanted the red buff first. It's all good.
It's okay. He didn't want to risk Airwax being nearby, spotting him at that red buff, I guess. And killing him. Taking it down. Anyway, it's still around this mid lane because it's been a farm fest in the 2v2 lane top. 1-on-1 bot lane has just been a pure farm fest. Nothing has been going on. Gilius has not been able to gank anything. Nidalee is so reliant on laners being able to set up ganks with CC. The problem is, Gnar can do it very effectively, because he needs to time the Mega Gnar perfectly to do it. Mid lane, Aika has been under pressure all the time, and they didn't want to play 2v2. Look at Betsy trading now.
Right now, Exhaust is on, so he has to burn that immediately. Just for an ult pop from Betsy.
I think Aika fired the E the wrong way.
Down on the bottom side, too. Alice and Spruttle, as we see them swap back, so nothing's really changed in the side lanes, but this mid continues to be a nightmare for Aika. Starting with that first kill, he's down 14 CS now, and he sees Airwax immediately clear his ward out.
Again, Airwax is constantly around this lane.
Gotta keep the camp up. Gilius says, no, that's my jungle. Airwax says, okay, we can share.
And this is one of the good things about Ezreal and Ryze together, if we look at their composition again. Ezreal is a laner who doesn't need help. He literally just sits back and he just farms in a terrible lane matchup with just his Q. In a normal lane matchup, he just goes even. He doesn't really look to trade all in, maybe a level 2 all in with Thunderlords, and that's about it. But he doesn't even run Thunderlords in this game. So you get to play around the Ryze because you have a farming bot lane, you have a farming top lane. Airwax has nowhere else he needs to go. And that is what sets up Betsy. But Elements will still have that mid game where they can start grouping on the Ryze. The problem is if you keep falling further and further behind, that gets delayed. And it doesn't become as effective, and then it's going to be easy for Freddy to start a fight with the rest of Roccat.
Gilius is going to look to make something happen here as Spruttle goes in. Exhaust down under Rallis, but a teleport is already underway. Saphir, he is going down as he true shots all the way back to Fountain. Freddy comes in and tries to get a bounce onto Steve. Spruttle pulled out of harm's way, and Elements pick the successful 1v0.
And we talked about how Ezreal won't get any help in his laning phase. He's just looking to farm. That does mean once other laners can push you into tower, you're not really a threat to them. You can't really push it back. So you can set up tower dives. There's a very good move by Elements. Level 6 for Spruttle. Easy dive with the Alistar. And just time in the TP from Steve. So I really like that play. It doesn't save the situation in the mid lane though. Aika is still going to be pushed heavily back. And now 2 guys from Roccat are here.
Oh, clutch pink ward. Mere 100 gold to not go down. But he can't afford to stay here. He knows that they can keep the push on. Things are flying. And that will mean that Roccat will retreat from this mid, but Aika's still under pressure, still down 17 CS, and that death. The assist of Betsy. Looks to go for a cheeky move, no? Oh! Nah.
Betsy doesn't
Maybe
really
later.
care about keeping him there. He doesn't want to kill him. He just wants to farm, push in the wave anyway. Elements can set up for early dragon if they want the first buff. Now that Freddy was on the bottom side, and that means Sapphire is on top side. Should expect 80 to join him. You don't really want to leave your 80 carry alone at 11 minutes. And you have a Callista, so Elements, if they want to, can get the early first dragon for the buff. Pushing mid tower first though. I would like to see Gilius on the bottom side here with Elements. Pushing this tower, force Freddy away, then take the dragon, and then you can start looking towards mid tower. Or even you can swap everything top after. Right now, he's setting up for a gank instead.
King in on Saphir here.
This is very, very risky, and honestly, just take the tower and the dragon.
Meganar's down, Saphir dodges the spear, and in comes Airwax and Edward like clockwork.
I mean,
Gilius goes down. Steve is not going to get a whole lot done with his boomerang, and it was all a trap.
Play around your strong lane, guys. Your strong lane at the moment is the Callista Alistar in a 2v1 against the Zac. Assist that one, take tower, take dragon. Speed up the game. Don't try and gank up on top side against, first of all, the enemy 2v2 lane. And you also haven't seen the enemy jungle for a while. Super risky play for Elements. Backfires completely. This bot lane tower is still alive.
Oh, Freddy's going to bounce it up. Sprattle's a little bit low, but there is always that Callista ult, if need be. So Freddy spends that one. Airwax will be making a trip down towards the bottom side, right over a ward, unfortunately. Meanwhile, up in the top, Saphir and Edward should be able to polish off this turret as they look to try and freeze up a few minions and let the turret take care of some on the side of Roccat, bounce it back and deny Steve some farm.
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
Roccat has now sent Airwax to the bottom lane, defending, see if he can hold. Because then Saphir and Edward can recall and return to the bot lane as well. Elements should be able to go in and push it in.
Half his health is gone. Another rune prison. Who has to burn his flash after his exhaust. He sends the laser as a parting shot. Rune shot is not quite enough, and Ika's able to eke away.
Oh, I think it just hit Gilius and lost some of the damage.
Yeah.
On the way down from the top lane, but really this mid lane is just gone horribly wrong. It starts with that gank from Airwax, and then it continues with the lane control from Betsy combined with the pressure from Airwax just being around playing the wards, forcing Ica to never trade and just sit super far back and keep losing some CS. Never really able to do anything. Gilius, he's returning top lane. It did work for Elements last week, but that was a different situation as well with Fiora. This time you have a super strong 2v2 bot lane, and that bot tower Pyra is still alive.
Aren't able to finish it off. Well, you know what isn't alive, Deficio? In about 2 seconds, that blue buff. It does go
Rip
over
blue
to Betsy, takes it out. So Roccat trying to flex their muscles down on the bottom side this time, trusting in Freddy to hold down the fort up top. That middle continues to be an absolute nightmare for Ica, and Airwax is coming up, but he will run straight into Gilius, and Ica himself tries to get out as fast as he can. Dodges all the skill shots, all skill. So he narrowly escapes getting locked and caught.
Alright, so Elements can make another play bot lane now. I know I keep going back to this bottom lane, but you can again push in the Ezreal and set up the same tower dive you did before. TP in from Steve, Gilius joining in, 4v3, kill them, take tower. You cannot let this Ryze continue to just sit and free farm mid lane, so you need to start opening up the map. Gilius is near the bot lane. I want to see this play happen. If Eddie and Saphir stays, they should get TP'd on and die. You can even see Steve how far back in the lane he moved with Meganar to be ready to make that play. Roccat learned though, said we're not going to stay on the tower this time. It happened before, they back away. And Elements were setting up for it perfectly though.
Yep. So we're waiting for the moment to be right as the teleport comes in. Freddy in the back looking to slingshot his way into the team, and Elements had no idea it's coming, but now they do. Looking to bounce it up. Teleport, Steve comes in, but Airwax already picked off Rowles. Gilius and Sprattle split away. Saphir and Steve duking it out. Steve will find the kill. It's a 3-on-2. Make that 3-on-3 as Betsy comes around the corner, and so does Ica, trying to trap them. Laser beam from the back line, and it looks like Ica has found his footing this game. Freddy's got nowhere to go. He's going down, smacked into little globules, and Elements with a big power play. Get the ace.
This is what happens when you play around your strong lane. That's why you pick that Callista. So you can use a strong early game. Elements that get a fight down there is very back and forth in the start, but they're strong here. Instead of going top lane and trying 2v2 or 2v3 with Gilius and Steve together, use your AD carry. Ika gets a roam down, he gets a kill, so despite him falling far behind early on, he now gets some gold. That's an early dragon as well. Early dragon, it's the first dragon for Elements. Alright, let's see the play. So it's Roccat setting it up. Freddy coming in from the back here, unnoticed at first, but he misses the slingshot. And then he doesn't get a whole lot of damage other than just to Mr. Rales, but still, Elements are still fighting around the bot side. Steve comes in, he can clean up 2 kills, Ika returns. Betsy has to take the long route around. And there's no vision in this bush, in the tri-bush, so they can't see the skill shot coming. So they can't dodge it. And that's why Ika is able to hit both guys with everything, because there was no ward in that bush.
And this is why we thought we'd see the Lux pick coming. Despite being set behind early, despite being pressured up until this point, Ika needs one play like that to grab a whole chunk of change. 1 kill, 2 assists. And he's still going to have some trouble dealing with Betsy the longer this Rise game goes. But still, excellent, excellent move for the Element squad in that particular instance. They're up 500 gold.
Yeah, we just didn't get to see what the Lux can do early on. Thunderlords is fantastic on her because her passive will count as a stack on that as well. It's very easy just to like land your E, auto attack, that's another one, and then your passive will proc, and then you get the Thunderlords as well. There's very good trading she can do early on. Also, you can go 45% cooldown reduction, and she always had that issue late game, fairly long cooldowns, miss one ability, and you kind of walk around not doing a whole lot. 45% CDR obviously helps on that one as well, so there's a lot of things to like about this pick. I want to see Elements now use it properly. They still need this last outer turret on top side before they can focus on mid tower. And that's why they're sending all the guys there.
Freddy is going to short range slingshot his way away from Steve. That black cleaver on him has given him a serious chunk of damage, but in comes Airwax looking to try and knock him up and slow him down. Freddy's turned around trying to run that way, but Meganar's about to be there. Not in time, he smites him, and that's it.
Elements can just push top now. Airwax was there to defend it and delay it, but by him suddenly rushing bot lane, not even coordinating with Freddy, who just used slingshot the other way, Steve can just walk away and escape it. Extra damage on top tower. Elements afraid because look at Betsy on your minimap. Posturing around the top sides, stopping them from pushing it, but as soon as he leaves, get a bit more damage on it. So they just need to do this, keep chipping away in this tower, and then you gotta go for mid after.
Remember one key thing to Fishio, traffic cones stop everybody. So for the time being, still alive. Unfortunately, it's gone now.
I wish that was the case, but I see quite a lot of people ignore them and run straight over them.
Wow.
Not this big one,
grab anymore.
I mean, this one's pretty
Tower's gone. Elements managed to pick that up, so taking stock of where we're at, that's the second for Elements. Still only 1 for Roccat that was already in the top side. So advantage Elements on the board there as they have 1,500 gold in the lead as they look to chase down Edward in the middle. He will, however, get away.
This again was exactly what Elements wanted. First a fight in the bottom lane, then Airwax leaving the top side to try and gank Steve. A bit uncoordinated, gives them that top tower, or well, makes it easier for Elements to take the top tower. You got 3 ranged champions, 4 I guess with the Gnar, but he's sitting in the side lane. You're now looking at this mid lane. Again, there's no safe wave clear from Roccat, it's just the Rise popping his ulti. That is very risky when he can't get hit by a Lux binding or whatever poke coming in from Elements. But that's gonna be the way Betsy can clear the waves. That also forces him to sit in mid now, instead of taking a side lane and get more freeform. He might be stuck in the mid lane, just on wave clear duty.
On the other hand, that double tier composition, we do know it takes a little while to get rolling, and Roccat can count on a solid later game. For Elements, their power spike seems to be coming up just about now.
Yeah, FLICKR gets a large rod as well, so he's definitely hitting a strong point for him. You got Hurricane completed on Kalista, so you got the 2-item spike. This is definitely the time Elements want to make plays. I do want to say, Rise, yes, still gets more scaling. I think here around Mickey when he has T and Rod of Ages, he is extremely strong. If he gets to sit there and hammer away and deal his damage. He's just also still fairly squishy. He doesn't have that shield coming in from the upgraded tier later on. It's gonna be all about Freddy setting up the plays for him. Service Betsy. Do like this,
like now.
Then Betsy can go crazy.
Lock him down. Steve has not got Meganar yet, and Airwax intercepts Betsy with another kill on the board, and all of a sudden Roccat can push down this bottom tier 1 to finally polish it off. But Elements are looking to respond on the top side. It's only Rowlers, though.
This is why Roccat are blind picking this Zac. Saying we need some engage, we need some CC. Enable the Rise, it worked right here. Elements again are around the mid lane. They're just not going, they're not going very aggressive. once Roccat commit 3 guys on the bot side, Ezreal was enough to deny the wave in mid, and Elements just backs away. So it's really, really slow paced. So Roccat gets away with the gank in bot lane, takes the tower, and didn't lose anything.
Nicely done. Roccat now controlling this bottom side of the map once again, looking to take another blue buff away. Not if FLICKR can help it though. ROC will try to secure it up. Whoa! That was close. ROC gets it at the end of the day. Fighting over those little objectives. Elements pinging out from the side of the jungle, and Roccat here, as they're knocked away by the traffic cone in the mid side.
It's gonna get even worse. Ezreal, late game with the blue build, is very, very strong. Put up that pillar from the jungle, and it's very hard to dodge the Mystic Shot coming in, and then suddenly you get slowed by that as well, and you take quite a lot of poke damage. Obviously, Elements will try and return it. I still feel like, Pyra, I would have liked a Corki pick combined with their Lux. You had crazy good poke then.
And then you don't need the AP jungler.
And if you didn't need the physical damage, go for Lee Sin jungle. So you have Lee Sin, Alistar is a disengage, but also dive potential when the target does go low. If you see an opening and people are moving around. And you also got some physical damage on top coming in from the Gnar. Elements had a plan though. And they did use the Alistar Kalista combo to dive the bottom lane. So we can definitely see why they picked the 2v2. Now we just need to see if they can push this advantage further in the mid game. Otherwise, Rocket's late game, blue build Ezreal, Rise, Zac becomes very, very hard to kill. Rocket's late game is very strong.
Right, and that means they will need to get things going pretty quick. Nicely done by Aika. Lasers down, the blue buff on the opposite side of the map, but Elements do have to get rolling. You're absolutely right. Freddy pops, so does Steve, but in comes Betsy, and they've got him locked up, but the Gnar bar is full. Let's bounce, says Freddy, and there's no help coming for Steve. He may be able to Gnar them into the wall, but a flash forward means Betsy picks up his 3rd kill of the game, and that is not good news for Elements.
A mistake we see very often here in Europe is that 1 or 2 guys from your team are recalling because they have to go back to base for whatever reason. And you ignore that, and you just continue to be too far up in your lane. That means Roccat can walk down, kill you with 2 guys, and not lose anything in the mid lane. Gilius was running from base, so there was no real threat on the mid tower again. So just another kill on Steve. No response from Elements. And now Roccat is pushing up mid. This is what Elements comp was supposed to do against Roccat.
Roccat does seem to have the better execution. Coming into this game, you know, we questioned who would be able to step it up. Roccat made some mistakes last week, but they could have very well have gone 2-0. Yeah, half of that game. They weren't able to pick it up against Saudi, and Roccat now are answering back, making the right plays. Elements, they're the ones that look so scattered. Or G2 rather, last week, sorry.
Yeah, the bad team fights cost Roccat a lot in that one.
Both these teams actually lost to G2, didn't they?
Yeah, it seems to be a thing coming in for week 1. Elements,
a lot of teams are losing.
Elements got completely destroyed by G2. They lost mid lane big time. Perks just snowballed out of control. Trick was crazy in Graves. Roccat had the lead against G2 last week, but then had a poor team fight and fell really far behind. Now we get to see the siege show from Elements. It is quite delayed, and Roccat is here trying to fight it.
Nice knockup from ROC, but the team is very slow to respond. He has to flash back out of the way. Steve has to hop the wall. In comes Freddy to try and force the issue. Rollins at half health, but Roccat are standing firm. Pillar comes in, and it looks like we'll have the disengage here until Swaddle comes in. There's the laser. Not as much as they might have hoped, but they're still getting damage out on this Roccat squad, and now they are hurting. Betsy can't keep going in. Freddy will finally not be going down. He's got the globules. Can they finish him?
I can kill him easy. Just put in the E in the middle, wait for them to come in, and then just proc it. You kill them, or wait for your AD carry to steal it. Elements, they finally grouped in the mid lane. They used the Lux, the Nidalee, to poke away, but Roccat had enough time to set up a fight. ROC went in very early. Freddy with TPing at the same time, I believe, so they came in kind of uncoordinated. But it looked good at first. Until Spraddle on this Alistar. That is his pick. This is the champion he's performing the best on. It's honestly the only champion we've seen him really perform well on. And he's doing it again, 100% kill participation.
And he has been a big force in the fights they've had. Let's take a look at how it all started. The siege was on, Airwax in the back, and then...
He goes in alone because the TP is coming now for Freddy, so they don't get the knock-up into another knock-up to set up Betsy and Sapphire. Elements are able to disengage at first, Get a lot of stacks in. Then look at the re-engage. There's a ward in the bush here. It looks awesome, but I believe in the end, after the 4-man knock-up, we get him only the laser hitting the 2 tanks, because Sapphire jumped out to the left.
Could have been huge though, for sure.
Still, you get a good setup now because you had your tank in the front line with the Alistar ulti. Rallis is able to get Freddy down, and I guess he deserves to get the kill then, fine. This looks nice when Lux pops the E in the middle and gets all 4 blocks.
And as it stands though, 7 kills to 6 on the board. Elements after that with a slim lead to their name. 3 towers to 3. It has been real back and forth with how these teams are duking it out, but Elements, if they can keep this lead up, they can find a way to punish Roccat before that double tier really gets rolling. It's getting close though.
Oh, it's rolling. Big time. It's a massive snowball already for Roccat just with the tiers. And honestly, that fight was so close, despite Roccat not getting the proper engage, with Airwax in first while Freddy were TPing. Imagine that fight again, if Freddy and Airwax comes in together, locks these guys in place. It's gonna be a 3-4-man ulti from Freddy. I think Roccat then takes the fight. Ryze is super fed at this point. Bluebill is getting towards his 3rd item where he really gets online, where he really starts spiking, fully stacked T and both. It is even in gold, but I think Roccat at the moment are looking way stronger when it comes to these team fights. As long as Freddy can find the engage, there should be enough of a setup for Roccat to take it. And this is because Elements have been so slow in the early game, giving Roccat so many opportunities to pick up kills left and right and stack up these tiers. They now are in a much harder situation. It's not because they can't win. They need to keep grouping and sieging. It just became super, super difficult now.
And we'll make another effort though to shove it down the mid, send the spooky ghosts out to spot Eddie and Betsy. No one's on this turret just yet, but they know there may be a trap. Around the corner awaits a Saphir, awaits Airwax, and the laser comes in the name of Demacia. What in the hell was that?
Holy! He had heal, but he's like, I'm almost full HP. I'm not gonna heal this.
And that's Lux, man.
Got destroyed. That is what Elements will still have. Their one-shot ability. The massive laser of doom. Rushing into Baron. Betsy still here as the main damage dealer. All the tanks are full HP for Roccat. This is still very risky.
They got the Callista. They're going to try to fold the fight. In goes Spraddle, gets the knockup.
They got
and
Betsy!
the knockback. They've caught Betsy, but he's going to flash away. Exhaust is on and he's staying healthy. Or is he? In comes Freddy to take out Gilius. Bounce it out. Picks up Steve. It's Betsy that gets the kill. Edward scattered to the wind. 1 Roccat member for 2. Seems like a bargain deal for Team Roccat now.
Elements trying to force another fight. Also Callista on that Baron, obviously in case Roccat didn't react fast enough. But everyone else were full HP. It's only the Ezreal down because he got one shot by Ica. They need more of that on the side of Elements, and they need to use it to get a tower or maybe a dragon. Sorry, Baron. Dragon.
I mean, it is available, but it's
Dragon is not going to mean anything at this point for Elements, because if they keep going towards 5 dragons, Roccat is just going to become stronger and stronger and stronger. And they also know it. That's why they rushed for that Baron. But man, we are going to have such a strange game where Roccat, if we get an open team fight, should win. But there's always that risk of getting caught out by Ica, and someone just drops dead, and then suddenly Roccat might have to surrender something. We might see it again down here.
Oh, from a different angle.
Oh,
it still looks,
wow.
It still looks incredible. So
Good
now
old
Elements.
times where Lux would just sit and snipe people left and right. I remember playing against the likes of Froggen, doing that for about 2 hours. And
Is that the best League of Legends you ever played this year?
some of the most boring League of Legends. You tend to lose focus in the end, and then you just get sniped left and right. Froggen was a master at playing Lux, though. I'm sure Crepple can talk a lot about it, because that was the old CLG EU days of 1 hour long games just sniping people, and then you would take something. That's what Elements are doing, funny enough.
Yeah. Whether or not they got Froggen, Spraddle goes in, but he's juked out by Saphir. Tries to go for the second effort. Airwax, Rallis was chunking him out as a teleport now.
Here's Freddy!
Freddy's in the middle, but he's not going to bounce as much as he wants. Doesn't go down, however. They've caught Betsy, and they knock him back. A big Gnar against the wall. Gilius gets the shutdown gold, and now Roccat on the retreat. Elements able to punish. And looks like they're going to try for a Baron dance yet again.
Really like the coordination there between Rales and Spraddle together. They were waiting for Betsy before pulling the Kalista ulti and then fire Spraddle into Betsy, stop his combo, knock him up, focus him down. Beautiful setup. Freddy again, because he wasn't expecting a fight. It's Roccat kind of jumping in a little bit too early, trying to poke. Engage happens, Baron is down now. 4 elements. But really, it's Roccat trying to like poke a little bit here and there, get a little bit too close, so Freddy doesn't have time to teleport and beat a man engaging. He comes in too late, and then elements have disengaged. They kite back. It's what you want to do when you play Lux, when you play Nidalee and so on. You kite back until you find that one target, and then you burst him down. And they're able to do it because Freddy isn't the guy engaging. It's randomly you Ezreal. It's Airwax going in a little bit too early, and that's allowing elements to win some of these fights.
It's also allowed them to grab a Baron. Top of that 2K gold lead, they've got 31, almost 32 minutes into this game. They can get their push on and try to stall out Roccat.
And we just talked about how elements are just looking for that one kill and then move back in towards Baron. You have Kalista.
That's all they need.
Force a fight, either 5 versus 4, or you get the Baron. So like you force Roccat then to make a move or lose something. And now you have the Baron buff. You have your Lux still. She has a death cap completed. She's gonna one-shot your squishies.
And they've got Siege. You talk about Roccat, they don't have, you said this earlier on in the game, they do not have this safe wave clear. They don't have a way to get in there and stop this push without exposing themselves. And you can see how fast these turrets are falling. Elements are gonna knock on the front door. What can Roccat do to stop this?
So far nothing, because Freddy is also in full vision, so they can see if he starts charging up the slingshot. You just move back. You keep kiting back. Spraddle can be the big hero. If he sees Freddy flying in, just headbutt him straight out, and then the CC won't land. Freddy has no flash at this point, so the engage is very difficult. We might see him sit in the base gate, have a ward there to clear away what Elements has, like put a pink ward and sit in the base gate, and then try and fly in from the side. Because you gotta do something, otherwise your tower will just keep taking damage.
He's almost Meganar.
You can see Steve is down here. He's spotting Freddy all the time in the bottom of the screen. Just poked him down, and Freddy now might go to the other side. He needs to try and find a way to engage. Elements saying, you know what? Too risky, we got a big wave on the bottom side. Rotate down, but Roccat can't follow because there's only one lane pushing at this point.
No teleport on the Gnar either, so they can't send him back to have him come right back on in. This is only a delaying measure though, because Roccat can't stop this tower, so it will fall down. Saphir was on wave clear duty in the mid, and they never stood a chance. There is a big wave pushing for Roccat in the top side, but Elements don't care about that. They want to start knocking on the base.
That wave is already going to reset on the tower. The only threat for Elements is Freddy jumping in. That's why at the base here, you can see Elements are a little bit afraid despite having a big wave, charging up the slingshot.
Looks to go on in, waits till the last moment, he gets stopped,
down.
And now Spraddle, failure to launch on Freddy's side. They can't get the tower, but they are able to get out.
Still, Roccat really struggling with the engage.
They're about to finish this off without minions. Now they gotta wait till this wave comes in. Laser. Saphir heals it after the fact. Spraddle goes in, looking for Betsy. Freddy jumping up and down. Steve's gonna hop his way away. Spraddle's bounced away on his backside, and he just might get carved up. No, there's a heal. So they couldn't finish the turret in the end, but they stayed safe as the true shot comes in, doesn't finish off the cow.
This Roccat team were never supposed to be in the situation where Elements is knocking on the base door, because suddenly Freddy can't find a good opening. He had no TP. He had to use it in that last fight where Saphir got caught by jumping in first, I believe. And then suddenly he's just engaging in vision. And as we talked about, Alistar can just headbutt him out, stand in front of him, whatever it is. And like, it's too easy for Elements to then kite back with their comp when they see the engage happening. That's why earlier, go back 7, 8 minutes, it was looking like, okay, Roccat has tier stacked, Freddy's getting really tanky, they're even in terms of map control, so you have all these openings now where Zac can engage from, combined with a knock-up from Airwax, and it's gonna look super good. And then Ica gets one pick, they get another team fight where again Roccat is engaging poorly, and they get the Baron, and now they can push Roccat back.
Oh!
Another interrupt.
Nicely, Freddy has just had so much trouble slingshotting his way, but there weren't enough people there in time to punish him. So indeed, he will slip out of the grasp of Elements, but that gold lead still staying for that team. 4K in the lead. Oh, but look at this. Around the backside, Airwax looking to try for a collapse. He is spotted. Rales
Steve is TPing in behind. Freddy's in the bush here. He's not spotted.
We got a fight on our hands, or we will in a minute. Elements trying to turn tail and run as they pick up the dragon. And now immediately Roccat turn their attention towards the mid tower and take it out guerrilla warfare style before anyone knew what was happening.
So Elements making the call that they can sacrifice mid tower for third dragon and potentially get that fifth dragon game going on. We haven't seen that happen in Europe. Like, this is a very long game in Europe compared to what we saw in week 1.
36 minutes, man.
36 minutes, man. I'm already
With or without Frog, we always get late games in Elements.
Especially with the Lux in there as well.
Yes.
Sitting and hammering away and just picking
Proud
off
tradition
targets.
that Ike is carrying forward.
The wave clear, and let's see the cooldown on Ica's ulti at the moment is 37 seconds. Obviously didn't go for cooldown reduction boots. He didn't go for Morello or anything, so he's not even built for 45% CDR. Only has the frost queens, and I would assume he has scaling CDR blues as well.
And we've hit the point in the game, though, where the death timers are starting to be very pesky. We'll see if these teams play a little bit more conservative, or will they go for the big picks? I really don't think so. Roccat are really trying to avoid a big fight. They've seen what can happen if only one member, non-tanky member, gets caught out of position. They do not want to lose Saphir or Betsy before the fight starts.
At least for Roccat now, they are out of the base. There is some opening for Freddy. You can see him constantly sit on the side. They're going in with Airwax and Gilius.
And he doesn't connect. Freeseeker gets the knockup. All right, they go for it again. True Shot Barrage comes out. But Elements just keep slipping away.
Every single time. Where Roccat had the chance, they failed the engages. Whew. We've seen this one before.
So lasers.
And now Elements have honestly been playing a very, very safe game. Good vision around them. You can see all the walls being placed on the sides here in the jungle to try and spot what's going on. Sprattle has been caught out.
He is not going to have too much of a chance, but he stays alive and he's knocked back into the rest of the team. Meanwhile, Airwax has to get out of town, but it looks like Sprattle's the one who goes down first. Airwax is out of the fight, but he is alive. A 1 for none for Roccat this time around. Making Elements rethink pushing on forward.
Yeah, we didn't get to see the damage dealers from Elements do a whole lot in that fight. And no ulti from Rallis either to pull in. Sprattle was on cooldown for a few more seconds. But it's 1 kill for Roccat at least. Still scaling up with the Israel, still scaling up with the Rise. It's just been difficult for them to deal damage in these fights because Elements have been kiting back so well. And honestly, just look at the coordination between Rallis and Sprattle in these fights. How they're pulling him in, reposition the Alistar, knock him into Betsy or so on when he gets too close. I definitely think this Alistar should be a ban against Elements because it is by far his best champion. Nothing has come close to what he can do on Alistar.
When he gets it, though, he has definitely shown some serious plays. And the Sprattle of last year, Promise Q, really didn't come all that close to displaying that kind of coordination with his AD carry. So clearly this team is definitely picked up in its togetherness and how well it plays together, and this is what Roccat are having a hard time dealing with.
And it is what the Elements guys were talking about coming into the season. They wanted to be, or they wanted people to understand that they were a team who wanted to play together. They weren't just like 5 random free agents picked up because they had no other teams. No, they actually wanted to play together. They wanted to show people that it could be more than what people expected. And they're trying to get 80 down, and that's the kill.
He picks up an assist as the kill gets picked up by Ica. That means it looks like it might be time to dance the Baron dance. Airwax with his ultimate is pushing on the top side. Turret will fall, but Elements have already started on the big purple worm. True Shot Barrage comes in, lending some assistance, and over the top side, we have the Queen of the Zursai. Will be able to get in there? No. Callista will make sure of that. Steve now hops, skips, jumps. Sprattle trying to interrupt Betsy. Ica very low. He's popped. Will they be able to take the fight anyways? They tunnel onto Saphir, but it's all sorts of crazy action as Betsy grabs yet another. Can he finish another? No, he's finally down. A triple kill for the Callista, and almost everybody's down. This game has gone all sorts of crazy. Freddy on the chase should be able to finish off. Steve, can you get away, Steve? Keep
Super
running.
wrestling.
Steve!
Takes forever,
oh my
man.
God, he's still
Come on,
getting away.
sling yourself towards him.
Uh-oh.
He's going. Ah!
Oh, wow. 4 for 4.
Nice, Steve.
Baron on the Gnar. We got it, boys.
Yeah, Steve keeps the Baron buff alive. Again, though, Roccat, one member gets caught out. Elements get the kill, rush towards the Baron. We've seen this before. Another big fight is happening. Betsy, this time around, finally got in there. Sat in the middle of the fight. Picked off targets left and right. Insane damage. We're not seeing the same thing from the Israel pick. Very low damage coming in overall from anyone else but Betsy on this Roccat lineup.
Managed to pick off Ica first. Let's see how it all went down.
Yeah, so Freddy doesn't get into the middle of the Baron pit with the slingshot, so he's out here focusing Ica down with Betsy so they take him down. Sapphire he's not really able to do a whole lot because he has to instantly run away. He gets focused again by Sprattle and Rallis together. That synergy we talked about. Betsy's close, cleaning the fight. Freddy in the end. And then this one goes on for a while.
And yeah, you don't need to read the rest of that. We'll give you the TLDR. So we are 41.5 minutes into this game. That makes it, of course, officially the longest game in Europe this year. Let's see how long we can take. It's appropriate that elements are in it, I think.
I just finished my water bottle number 2, showing that we're not used to these long games anymore.
Yeah, you got to stay hydrated, man, on that desk.
Normally we don't have time to drink. There's so much fighting going on.
There really has been a lot of fighting. Very close calls for some teams.
Well, this one been like every fight almost is like 1 kill.
Yeah.
Just something.
Or
one more
4 kills for 4. That's the bloodiest we've seen.
And then we get the big one in the end.
It's like at the like climax of this like epic Dragon Ball Z fight where the 2 guys just punch each other and they both faint. Pretty much that.
Fits in with the lock.
It's actually very appropriate, yeah, I think,
yeah,
because you know,
I like it.
I always wanted to answer this question as a kid: who would win in a fight between Sailor Moon and Team Rocket? And I'm gonna find out eventually.
Oh, that's a tough question. Maybe Twitter can help you. I'm not sure.
I think, yeah. Why don't you guys tweet that one out? Keep it going.
Let's see what happens here. Item-wise as well, we barely even looked at them because there's been a lot of back and forth going on. More of Memorius, I like it for Rallis. I think it's a great item when the main damage source is going to be magic coming in because of Betsy. Even Freddy in his face. Like, one of the good things about Zac as a top lane pick is he can honestly go toe-to-toe with a late game AD carry. Eric's, he's still split pushing on this Rek'Sai. He's done this before.
Steve just backed.
Eric's is the only full damage
at the tower
Rek'Sai who still split pushes I have seen in like almost every region I watch.
Oh.
This is pretty tough though.
Uh-oh. Well, he might pay. Very carefully get to the tunnel, and there's Sprattle.
Oh, no way!
What a slippery shark, man.
Eric's is playing some fun League of Legends.
He's having a good time.
Full tank Rek'Sai picks up the tower, escapes, and Elements
do nothing.
I mean, the entire push obviously got interrupted because they had to run back and stop him.
When we have the highlight reel of this game, we're going to have to set it to Benny Hill.
Oh, man.
Slips through the fingers of Elements. Take a look at the scoreboard again. We are 13-14 in kills. The gold lead is only a measly 1,000 different. But we've seen wipes on both sides and nothing's been able to happen. It's so tense when you just can't quite get the result you want, even if you manage to get somebody out. Roccat are still doing this crazy late game push.
Yeah, and we're finishing all the builds basically. Void Staff is there for Betsy.
This is where you sell your boots, Deficio.
You can't ask for much more. Boots of Swiftness is so good, man. Movement speed.
It's good. Maybe the boots on Rallis should be sold.
Yeah, potentially.
There's no more Zephyr though, is there?
I think he might just keep them, honestly. He's built. That's a crazy Baron power play. Right, you earned 649 gold more than
because
your
that wipe, right? That was less than earning the Baron itself.
I mean,
so
Steve
actually means Roccat came out of it.
Steve was the only guy who survived with the Baron buff. So they only managed to earn the 694 gold more than Roccat doing that one. That's obviously the gold from the Baron. Then combined with the 4 kills. So very, very weak Baron, but there, you can't really blame them when they instantly die at a fight. Let's see what happens mid, though.
Now Axe is trying to look for Sprattle, who goes and gets the headbutt pulled away by the Callista. Just when you think you have him, now you don't. Steve, however, is caught. Soon to go Meganar. Will he survive? Has the shield on. He does get away. And these bruisers, they just won't die, Deficio.
A little bit of miscommunication there. Sprattle popped his ulti and then instantly Rallis pulled him in. I was in Rallis is taking me a little bit earlier. Maybe he was afraid of an engagement from Freddy from the side and didn't want to step too close. We still see Ica is not fully completed yet with his build, and we talked about it earlier, how he's not aiming for that cooldown reduction build. So he does still have somewhat long cooldowns in a big team fight. 9.3 seconds on his Q, 8.5 seconds on his E, so if he doesn't land his full combo, his damage is really greatly reduced. And that's always been one of the problems for Lux in the late game and why I like this cooldown reduction build. choosing something different, wanted more damage in the early game, it seemed like.
Just trying to keep that mid-wave pushing. Each team is focusing so much attention on that. Big difference, really. Most significant thing is Airwax being able to pick up that inhibitor turret up top. None of the other ones have fallen this game. That's the only tower difference between these two teams. Baron's about to be back on the table. Elements are looking to secure the vision side around it, though.
We're basically looking at the same setup again. Set up vision around it. Prepare for that Baron dance, which doesn't really exist anymore because teams have gotten good enough to force fights or pick someone off and then take a free Baron. It's not very often we see people dance around it. You need to play this ward, and they do. Freddy, where is he? He has TP, he has Flash, he has everything ready. If he gets in the face of Mr. Rales, he can take him out alone. He has the Thorn Mail as well. But he needs to land that slingshot into his ulti. And then Betsy needs to be put in a position where he can just machine gun people down. We know Airwax is gonna split push. Top lane is pushing as well. It's a good setup for Roccat.
Shot, clips Gilius. He'll be up in a few more seconds, but there is the split push as you mentioned. Steve is trying to keep the wave out of the base of Elements. Elements will back away after they take some significant poke from Saphir. But he's definitely had a little bit of a rough time this game. He's playing the more supportive AD carry style. Just the poke. And the Baron is angry.
So this time Roccat now has control in that river. Saphir is pushing up mid lane. Whenever you fight for Baron control, mid lane is honestly the most important lane, because if you can push the wave up towards the enemy, you can always see where they're moving between that mid lane. You can see who's sitting there clearing, and it allows you to passage into the river, which obviously is a lot faster and a lot easier and a lot safer to do. And set up that vision. Baron is started. TP from Steve. He has Mega Gnar in just a few seconds. It's going to be a big one.
Edward is trying to preempt this one. Steve is going to get that Mega Gnar. He's stopped up for a second, but Sprattle's bought enough time for the big Gnar to come out. Rales in the back. There's the laser. Chunking Edward, chunking Freddy, but not nearly enough. And they're right on back in. Just keep trading blows left and right. Everyone's still up. Not for long, though, as it looks like it's going to be. Is it Sprattle? No. Betsy, everyone from Roccat starting to go down. Elements have combined. A triple kill over to Rales. They lose Sprattle. A quadra kill for Rales. Will that be it? Can they march it down? I think so, Deficio.
They should be able to get into the base here. They have the minions. The cannon is there. Ike has survived in the end, and Steve with the Mega Gnar. Rales looks like the hero, but Sprattle, he headbutted Betsy over the wall, so Betsy did almost no damage in that fight, allowing Rales to set up the stacks with this Kalista, pop the rend, win the fight in the end. This Alistar has been massive. 100% kill participation in a 48-minute long game.
The longest we've had in EU by far, but the Nexus towers will fall. Roccat nowhere near coming back up, and the Demacia laser comes out to seal the deal. Elements with a 2-1 start.
Long game, where Elements said we didn't manage to pull the trigger in the mid game. We fell behind in the lane. Lux against Ryze, we talked about it so much in the early game. It delayed everything, and it just became a waiting game. Constantly waiting for that one pick-off, and then you can go to get an objective or get a tower. And Roccat was so trigger happy. They was like, I'm just gonna go in a little bit too early on Rek'Sai, jump in with my Ezreal to try and land a Q, and then it starts to engages from Elements every time. And poor Freddy, who wants to be that hero on Zac, always has to TP in late. And that's what, at the point where we had the tiers fully stacked, the Ryze was going nuts. That could have been the moment for Roccat to get a massive lead, but instead it allowed Elements to keep kiting back, get that one kill, get the Baron, get the towers. And what a long, drawn-out game. These are the kind of games as a player that are so difficult to play because you have to stay fully 100% focused for 50 minutes. Constant communication going on back and forth, and that's also why it's so easy to make that mistake, where someone goes in a little bit too early, someone is mispositioned or whatever, because 50 minutes of 100% focus is very, very difficult for almost any team. And then these small mistakes happen, and against a lineup like this from Elements, with the Lux, with Sprattle being so aggressive on Alistar, you get caught out.
And you die.
And you die.
But we talked about Rales and how in the last year, in the years he's been in the LCS, it's a long game, it's okay. He's been known as that guy who would never lose you the game, but he's never going to be the one who wins you the game either. I'm not saying he did this time, but we found the missing ingredient for him. Sprattle. That Alistar play was magnificent, man. And combined with that Kalista, it looks like a different player.
I was looking so much at that Corki pick in the Champs Select. It was Kalista instead. Still a fantastic pick, obviously. but it's because Rales and Sprattle together with this Kalista-Alistar combo in these team fights were so good. There were so many times where it looked bad. It looked like Betsy was about to take down like 2 or 3 guys, pull in the Alistar, knock him into Betsy, knock him up, and so on and so on and so on. And it just bought enough time for the Kalista as well to stack up the Rents in the late game, which is often the issue. You don't have that time. You need to like kill someone in a second or 2. Kalista doesn't do that. She needs like 5-6 seconds in the late game especially. But then she can also really start it rolling. And she obviously becomes very difficult to kill with the constant jumping around. So very fun game, honestly, even though it's a long game, because there was so many small back and forth.
Yeah, the teams were always trying to take an active advantage, so we did see them step up and change from that incredibly reactive playstyle that they both demonstrated in week 1 to a degree. But also for Rales on that Kalista pick, he was able to help secure the Baron that much more often.
Yeah,
that was a key part of Element's victory. They could force the fights there when that seemed to be the only opening when the teams weren't wanting to fight.
That's very true, and it's one of the big things when you run, again, we go back to IK on the Lux. When you set up vision around an objective and you deny the vision from the enemy, face checking towards Lux is so difficult because, again, one binding and you just get 1 shot. So like they had a good comp to set up these objectives and really punish teams if they fell behind. And that's what happened to Roccat because they didn't manage to time the engages.
Yep. Well, for now, though, we're going to send it over to Quickshot on stage. He's going to have a word with Element's mid laner and talk all about lasers.
Thank you very much. I am going to ask about the lasers, but first, I want to talk about the game. It went quite long. It swung back and forth a lot. Why was it so close for Elements until the very end?
Actually, we saw that Rek'Sai went bot side, and in game we didn't know which decision to take. So like they took turrets, and then we decided to send Gnar bot, and I think we just basically won the game on Nashor. Like we won the game on Nashor. We based our win on Nashor. So.
Well, it definitely worked out. Based the win, you played to the objective. What's it like playing on the LCS stage? You're new here with all the guys around Elements. How does it feel playing under the lights and under these conditions?
It feels good. I'm very nervous at every beginning of the games, new games. But the more the game keep going, I'm really fine and I enjoy really it. And they're helping me really hard to.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. Deficio is actually saying that Elements as a team, they want to maybe prove to everybody you guys are doing well. I'm quite impressed with the Lux today. First time we've seen it here in Europe this year. Talk to me about the champion. Why is it good on the current patch and why do you like it?
I think basically the first screen is really good on here because you can hit binding basically. And I think I just like the champion. I saw it in Korea and I was like, I want to play Lux. And I could play Lux, I think, because Korea played it. So I just took the opportunity to say I want to play Lux. And I knew that the champ was really strong. And in Europe, no one really plays it. So I thought I could be the first one and be my pocket pick and then basically cheese.
Well, it works, so I don't really know if that's the right term. Last question now before we move on. What is your expectations for the spring split with Elements?
We want to go to playoff, and we will do our best.
Well, perfect. I wish you all the luck. Thank you very much for joining me. Feel free to grab your gear and leave the stage. That's a win in the books for Elements and Ica. We're going to head to a break, but when we come back, it'll be Origin taking on the Unicorns of Love.
I'm ready, by the way.
Huh?
I'm ready.
You're what? Really?
Ready?
Well, Vivi?
Ready.
Oh, you're ready. Okay.
Teleport, Steve comes in, but Airwax already picked off Rales. Gilius and Sprattle split away. Saphir and Steve duking it out.
Go, right side. Rise. Nice! Kill him!
Go!
Kill him! Nice!
Like we'll have the disengage here until Sprattle comes in. There's the laser. Not as much as they might have hoped, but they're still getting damage out. Around the corner awaits the Saphir, awaits Airwax. And the laser comes in the name of Demacia.
Rice is in Africa. Flashing out. Yeah, go. Go! Let's go! Nice, boys.
Kill him!
Elements with a 2-1 start.